Hey, deserving listeners, Darcey and Stacey, Season 4. Let's watch.
This moment is going to be chocolate therapy. I recommend you to remove any accessories you have in your hands.
Okay.
Sir, start with you.
Oh. This is an experience, no doubt.
Wow.
Do you eat it? What do you do with it? What do you do with it?
I mean, I never had chocolate like this. Not at dinner, at least. But this is my chance to be a little flirtatious, and you definitely could tell a lot by how a guy licks chocolate off his hands. I want him to lick it right. I don't want him to be all messy and weird with it.
Each to their own. But you're... did they wash their... they must have washed their hands just before. Each to their own. Each to their own. Do what you want. Not for me.
You know, I want him to lick it right. Mike's licking that good. His tongue looks like he's doing a mighty fine job. It's good.
I mean, she'll even fairy tale-ize this. Which I was like, well, you're not going to be able to fairy tale-ize this scene, but she did.
Darcey is an amazing, gorgeous woman. And there is definitely the potential to build to something higher and deeper. I'm actually developing a program now that I call it Heart-Based Living, because I connect people with their heart. Of the spectrum of what exists, the eyes only see 3%.
So, God knows what he's actually saying here. It could be science-based. It could be not science-based. I don't know. But I just had the flash thought of, oh no, this person is on the show because they're trying to promote their business, and they'll do anything, including go on a show like this. I mean, who knows? But him being on the show could propel his revenue 10 times. I mean, you get enough attention for something, and it could be the difference between a small mansion and a giant mansion. I get the impression that he already has a fair amount of money. I don't know. But I hope that's not the case.
Really?
Yeah. And we base if I want to be with that person or not on that.
Wow.
Wait, what was he saying? Is he talking about your attraction to someone?
That I call it heart-based living. Because I connect people with their heart. Of the spectrum of what exists, the eyes only see 3%.
Really?
Yeah. And we base if I want to be with that person or not on that.
Oh, I think what he's saying is he has a program that he sells that's trying to help people to connect through the heart and not just look at looks. He's trying to help people to think about the bigger picture. I think that's what he's saying, and if so, that's great. I can stand behind that.
Wow.
The ultimate way a person can live is in a meditative state, but it's governed under the law of divine time.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I've heard a lot of stuff like this, and it just has all the hallmarks of, I don't know. I don't know. So there's a lot of possibilities. One is that if I truly understood what he's saying, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can get behind that. And or, oh, I can get behind that. I don't agree with it, but I see where you're coming from, or I see the science that you're actually promoting here. I see the ideas you're trying to promote, which I can get behind. I wouldn't word it that way. So there's that. That's on the positive or neutral side. There's another possibility that he is using a lot of words that sound complicated and scientific or real, and none of what he's saying makes any sense or has any greater good, and is only trying to trick people into giving him money. So let's just break down exactly what sentences he's uttered.
The eyes only see 3%.
Really?
Yeah. And we base if I want to be with that person or not on that.
Wow.
The ultimate way a person can live is in a meditative state.
The ultimate way in which a person can live is in a meditative state. What does that mean? What do you mean by meditative state? What is that? Because you could argue any state could be called a meditative state. The meditation means a lot of different things, one. Two, anyway, So then the ultimate way someone lives is through meditative state, but it's governed under the law of divine time. That sounds just like you pulled a bunch of words out of a thesaurus and threw them together, and you think it says something. Now, like I said, maybe if I understood what he means by this, I would say, oh, okay, you know, I understand that. But I don't know. It has it smells like either something that I have no connection to, that I couldn't connect to, or it's just charismatic charlatanism.
But it's governed under the law of divine time.
Oh, okay. Mike's, you know, leading in the conversation. He's talking a lot, but he's talking a lot about himself. He's not really asking me anything.
I meditate for hours, by the way. I ask a question and I wait for download.
Really?
Okay, so she's saying that he's talking a lot. We're only seeing short snippets, but we're certainly seeing that. And it does have that vibe that he's not really interested in having a conversation, at least in this moment. He is, you know, reporting something to her. It's not like, hey, do you ever meditate? Yeah. And then Darcey says something, and then he's like, hey, I meditate, and I find it really helpful in this way. You know, how do you like, you know, sort of a background. It's like she sat down and he's launching into some sort of sales pitch or a TED Talk or something. Yeah, not a good sign.
Really?
For the,
right. So you
for
like
the download.
asked, right. Okay, right. I get it. Like, it's starting to make me feel like I'm not attracted to, you know, his, you know, personality.
I was like, personality? Is that the word you're looking for? But I mean, I laugh because it seemed like something that was elusive to her, something that was obscure, I guess is the word. She was, you know, it's like, it's almost like I wasn't attracted to what is that? I'm not usually thinking about this sort of thing. Maybe like, well, what do you call it? Because I'm thinking personality. You should always be thinking about personality. But I don't know if we've seen from Darcey that that's what she focuses on, right? Because that doesn't help the fairy taleizing of the situation.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good.
You know, I just want to say...
You got my text message?
I just want to say thank you for the time, the experience we had. I'm just, you know, I think...
It was a certain pleasantness that vibrates out from you, and I love it.
Okay, so Darcey is saying she didn't really like the fella that she went on a date with, or didn't want to date him anymore. The thing that she identified with her friend when she was talking about dating him was that he texted her a lot, these very long texts. And they played the awkward music on the TV show. And so seemingly the narrative the show is trying to present is that because he texted her a lot, then that's why she's breaking up with him. I mean, Darcey did talk about other kinds of things, but I think that this is where a lot of the rules of dating come up, where people will say, well, you can't text you have to wait 3 days until you can text her, whatever, these kinds of rules. And the fact is that if you like each other and you're into each other, then it doesn't really matter these details. It could, for sure. I mean, if you're blowing up someone's phone 500 times a day with long emails or long texts, then yeah. But these kinds of rules of like, well, you shouldn't text, people get rejected and then they like, ooh, there must be these rules. The fact is the vast majority of the time, if someone likes you, it doesn't really matter what you do. If they like you, and they will overlook things, or they will maybe even just tell you, hey, really into you, stop texting me, whatever. So I worry about these kinds of narratives being put out there. But anyway, so Darcey says, I wished that I could, I don't know if I showed it, but Darcey's like, I wish I could just ghost him because I don't want to face this right now. And I've talked about this before, but there's a very weird, ironic worry that we have when we are breaking up with someone, even if it's after one date. We are worried about rejection. Now, how can that be? If Darcey is rejecting Mike, how is it that she's worried about rejection? She's the one doing the rejecting. Well, because rejection can take many forms. It can take the form of breaking up with someone, but it can also take the form of social rejection, or, when you tell someone, when Darcey tells Mike, hey, not into you, I don't want to date, he could in turn say, you're a jerk face, or I hate you, or how dare you, or I'm going to tweet about you. And it's natural to worry about that. But to avoid that actually incurs more rejection. You just don't see it. You just don't experience it. And maybe that's the point, is that, look, he can hate me from afar, but I don't want to deal with it up front. And so it's important to be able to face that fear, to take it on and say, hey, I know it's not going to feel great if they are angry at me when I reject them in this moment, but I need to go through that because it's the ethical way to do things. It's much worse I'll get much more rejection from them. I won't see it probably, but I might, but I'm going to get much more negativity from them if I don't inform them that I am no longer interested, right? And the other thing is to differentiate for yourself in terms of what you think is fair rejection from them and what is not. If Darcey, for example, says it in a nice way to him that she's just not interested, and he becomes a complete jerk face, then I'd hope she'd be able to differentiate, say, well, that's kind of on him because I didn't do anything wrong. So to understand, like, well, I'm not going to take that on. That sounds like his own personal issue. Maybe some of the negativity is justified or normal or something, but not that.
You as well. I definitely felt, a cool connection with you. I feel like we could be amazing friends, and
It's a blessing. Usually you meet somebody and you think, what an idiot.
yeah. I've asked
And here I meet you and it's just like all these wonderful thoughts are coming up.
Okay, so I didn't show this, but his contention was that he loved her mind, that he thought she was brilliant and highly intelligent. And of course, the date went on much longer, far longer than what we saw. But what we saw was her just in a pretty obviously uninterested way, occasionally saying things like, wow, interesting, while he just yammered on and on. So it's hard to know what's happening here, but there's a possibility that he thinks that she's highly intelligent because she just didn't oppose what he was yammering. There's also a possibility that she did exhibit great intelligence. There's also a possibility that he's just saying that because he wants to appeal to her. There's a possibility he might be distorting it, or I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like we're more like on a friend level. That's personally what I feel.
So I wouldn't recommend rejecting someone in this way. I would just be clear and say, I'm not feeling it in terms of romantic energy or whatever. And just say, I'm not interested in dating you anymore. You can follow it up with, say, we can be friends, but to say it like this, it could feel disingenuous. It could feel manipulative or even confusing, particularly to someone like him, because I don't know if he's exactly picking up what she's putting down. So I would recommend that she just be more clear. And getting back to the manipulation part of it, it could easily be interpreted by him that she doesn't really want to be my friend. She's just saying that as a way of trying to get away from what really she's saying, and because she doesn't want me to get angry at her, and that's self-serving, right? That's another self-serving, anxious thing to do, of like, I'm getting now maybe she is. Maybe she legit wants to be friends with him. I doubt it, honestly. So, we saw one of the best examples of this on Single Life with Debbie. Debbie went on a date with someone, and at the end of the date, they went to her door, and he was dropping her off, and I think Debbie might have wanted to kiss him or something, and he was just like, hey, I just want to say I had a great time, but I'm just not feeling it, and I'm really sorry about that. So, something like that. There's I think a bit more to what he was saying that was also positive. And Debbie still took it poorly, but not terribly, but she still was angry at him. And, it's normal to feel that kind of anger, but I don't think it's fair to get angry at someone like that. He met her online or whatever and gave it a shot, and he made the most of it. And then at the end of the night, he told her, look, just not, those are the good examples. Those are the times when we can say, good for them. They were ethical. They were clear. They were nice about it. They were upfront about it. They told her, immediately, because usually maybe even within 5 minutes of the first date, that it's not going to work. And so what a lot of people will do, like what what she's doing is, I'm pretty sure she knew right away, or at least halfway through the first date. But she's waiting a while longer. Meanwhile, he's blowing up her phone because I think he thinks they're still dating, which why would he think otherwise, I guess. And then it took the friend telling her, you should probably tell him. So anyway, let's see how this goes.
So,
Oh, absolutely.
well, you're really sweet, and thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
All right.
All right, sounds like he understood, read between the lines, and is taking it well, seemingly. So good. So that's another part of the ethics, is when you are being dumped, there is an ethical way to respond to being broken up with. We don't usually talk this way, especially on reality TV. It's just like, that jerk face. And it's just like, look, people are trying. And sometimes they're into someone, sometimes they're not. That's just the way that it is, especially after the first date, right? But this even applies to if someone breaks up with you after 5 years. To think about, okay, I'm being dumped right now. That doesn't give me full license to do whatever the F I want in response to this, right? There's a zone of normalcy or understandable or fairness of emotional expression for sure, and the person dumping me should allow for that to happen. It might be unreasonable to some extent for sure, but it doesn't give me the right to accuse them or blast them on Twitter or, necessarily, right?
I really enjoyed talking to you.
You too. All right, take care, honey.
Wow. Oh.
I don't know.
Poor
Nice
guy.
guy, though. I know.
Really
I feel
nice
bad.
guy.
I feel
Really
bad.
nice
I didn't want to
guy.
let him down, but I gotta focus on me and what I want. I'm glad.
It's interesting that she said it that way. I've got to focus on me and what I want. And yeah, of course, that's good. It makes me wonder if there's another voice inside of her that's like, you don't deserve to choose or think about what you want. If someone wants to date you, then you have to date that person. I wonder if there's something going on there. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.